Hello and welcome to the Film Whisperers, where two movie nerds talk all things movies with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matt.
So, how's it going?
Oh yeah, not too bad since the last time we spoke. I feel like we've been, catching up on the film whispers more and more, which is always great to see. How about you?
Yeah, look, I think we are in a better place at the moment with lockdown news, and I think every episode sees our hair grow a bit longer, and I think we could see the trajectory of our hair growth episode after episode, and hopefully with the next episode we would have had a haircut and look more presentable.
Very, very true. Hopefully, yeah, people will see much more clean cut Matthew in the next episode. It's interesting though because we're nearing the end of the year now, and that's when we get into award season, and of course, like the Oscar race heats up. And when people look at what's going to be the big ticket movies for Oscar season, oftentimes the kind of Oscar bait, quote unquote, movies that get the attention are movies that are based on true stories or biopics. So on that, what are we talking about today, Saj?
Very good point. I have been thinking of the Oscars actually quite a bit because this year has just been another year in lockdown, and the way a lot of movies have been released has been quite different to some of the previous years. And yes, based on true stories is definitely a big sort of golden ticket for a lot of actors and actresses to sort of cash in their performance and get the acclaim that they deserve. So I thought it would be good for us to talk about films that have been based on true stories. So not necessarily your stock standard biopics, but just films that there's an element of it that has been proven to be true.
I think that's a really good idea. So based on our, normal good, bad, and WTF, I guess we'll start with the ones we really like. Is there a movie or film, based on a true event or true life story that is up there for you? That's one of your favorite?
Well, Matthew, I think this is a really hard one to pick because there are so many good films out there where stories have been told that are quite incredible, have been incredibly well directed, incredibly well acted and written. But for today, one of the films that I'm going to pick is one that's currently streaming on Netflix as well, so it's easily accessible. It's called The Farewell. Have you heard of this?
I did. I remember actually I watched it when I was overseas. I think I was in New York, and I remember loving it. Like it had gotten kind of a bit of hype beforehand, but yeah, it's such a sweet story. I thought it was really, really nice, and obviously you liked it too.
So what I really liked about it is, this is how you do inclusion in film, right? So it's not about just, it's not Crazy Rich Asian style where the whole thing is about, them just honing in on some sort of stereotype, but this is a very heartwarming story of a woman and her relationship with her grandma, and the whole tradition in Chinese culture where you don't talk about death, and how an American is trying to grapple with that and trying to get a head around it, and how the family know what's happening except the person in concern with the grandma doesn't, and you end up with this comedy that is just it's funny, it's sad, but at the same time, I expected to be bawling my eyes out watching it, but I actually ended up laughing more than I expected. I thought Aquafina was just phenomenal in it, probably the best performance I've ever seen her in. I really think she should have been nominated for an Oscar for it, which I definitely think she was robbed. I believe it is based off Lulu Wang. So Lulu Wang is the director of the film, and I believe it's based off her grandma because she also wrote the screenplay. So there's a lot there. I think it's a movie that definitely has a punch which with a heart of gold. But I strongly recommend people to watch it because it's just such a good film. And yeah, as I said before, if you want to see racial inclusion, that's a really good example of how you do it. But anyway, enough about that. I'd like to know what your film is in terms of based on a true story.
I mean, just on that with The Farewell, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of part of what makes it so special is like I really like movies that can really expertly kind of straddle comedy and drama. So like, and not in a way that feels cheesy or melodramatic. Like I think that, like you said, you could be when you're watching The Farewell, there are parts that are really funny and there are parts that are really tender and sincere, and I feel like it straddles it really well. So yeah, totally agree. And randomly, I don't know if I'm making this up, but the director Lulu, what's her last name? Sorry.
Bang.
Is she with the director of? Is her and Barry Jenkins partners? I don't know why I think that. Are they together?
Oh, really? Oh,
I don't know. I
wow.
feel like they
Okay.
are. Our audience can fact check that. I'm pretty sure they are together, which is like just like the most amazing power couple ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, in terms of one of my favorite kind of films that's based on a true story, mine's also kind of a not too like a kind of recent one. It only came out I think a few years ago, but Hustlers with Jennifer Lopez. When I watched the movie, I remember like the opening scene had like a Janet Jackson song in the soundtrack, and I was straight away like, "Yep, I'm gonna love this movie." And then it didn't disappoint. Like it's just such a good movie. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm obsessed with it in general, but in terms because it's actually based on a true story, I think that's just what makes me like it even more. Like, it kind of looks at class and race, and it focuses on a very specific time in history, which was obviously the global financial crisis. And you kind of see these women who are disenfranchised and have been hit hard by this recession, and all these really top percent rich people are not losing any money, whereas all these people in the middle and down the bottom are losing work, they're not making money. And so what I really love is like this band of women kind of come together and like try to get back at some of take back some of that wealth from the really rich white Wall Street guys. And like I just love that story. It's really cool that they decided to tell it, because yeah, like it's still relevant today. Like even though that was 15 years ago or something, but the actual real story, it still happens now. Like people that are rich just keep getting richer, and people that aren't, they struggle. So yeah, I loved Hustlers. I'm assuming you've seen it, right?
Yeah, so it's funny. I saw that in America as well, Matt. My partner and I, we were heading to America for my brother's wedding, and we got off the plane at LA. And the moment we landed, we were really jet lagged, but we had to keep going because we didn't want to fall asleep because of the time difference. And one of the first things that we did was we went to the Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and we watched Hustlers. I just remember the scene where we get introduced to J Lo's character Ramona. Uh, she comes in and Fiona Apple's Criminals playing in the background, and I was just quite gobsmacked. This is a 50-year-old woman, and I don't want to bring age into it; it's irrelevant. But still, she looks amazing. The things that she did on stage, I think at 50, I don't know if I could even, do a quarter of what she did in that scene. I thought that was the best performance I've seen of JLo ever. She brought it. She brought it into the film. And I know we've had this discussion earlier, Matt, but I was so pissed off when she did not get an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She was robbed.
I completely agree. I think, yeah, I agree.
And the cast is amazing as well. This is one of those very few films where I can think of another film where the two lead actresses, one's Asian American and the other one's Latinx. I cannot think of another film where you have that racial representation. And if you have a look at the cast, majority of them, there are people of color.
I think that's why I liked it. It's like it was a really cool story. I mean, the cast was amazing, the writing was amazing, but it was just telling a story about a group of people that kind of, from different walks of life that have banded together to kind of unite under the common enemy, which was really like these kind of rich white dudes on Wall Street. So yeah, I The Farewell and Hustlers, two of the kind of better movies of the past decade. Definitely check them out if you haven't already. But that's all we have time for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're watching the Film Whisperers on Ben TV.